Hi guys, welcome back to Practicing Rural. I'm Cindy.
I'm Marcel.
And we are going to share with you our testimony on how we conceived. From a very young age, I was diagnosed with PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome, and it basically means that you have multiple cysts in your ovaries. Now this can have different effects on your body and in your cycle. For me, it gave me really heavy flow, really bad pain to the point where I pass out. I remember when I got diagnosed with it, the GP sat me down and basically told me that I need to be aware that it may affect my fertility. So when I'm ready to have children, I may have problems conceiving. So when I was told this, I think I was in secondary school, so I didn't really care because I wasn't trying to have any kids anyway. So it didn't have any weight at the time. But obviously as I grew older and the idea of it, of having difficulties having kids really stuck with me, and I think it stayed with me like fear. So there was this kind of fear that stayed with me without me knowing that it was fear, if that makes sense. So I was fearful that I wouldn't be able to have children. So then I believed that to be true, and I kind of embraced that would be the case for me, that it would be difficult for me, or that it would be impossible for me to have children because of what the doctor said. So growing up, obviously before my son and I got into a relationship, we knew each other quite well. We're very good friends. There were a bunch of us that were a really close group of friends, and I was the one that was always like, I'm not getting married and I'm not having kids because I don't want it. And even to this day, some of them even take the mick out of me because they're like, well, you're married and you have a child. So
To this day.
The way that it affected me was, it really took over my mind to the point where I really believed that I didn't like kids, that I didn't want kids, that I couldn't have kids. And because I thought I couldn't have kids, that fear was there, it translated to the way I could mask it was, I don't want them anyway. So if I told myself I didn't want them, it would be an easy pill to swallow, because if I don't want them, it doesn't hurt that I can't or would have difficulties having them. So Marcel comes from a big family and he wanted a lot of children. He wanted 9 kids. So
because obviously my granddad had 5, my dad had 7, so I thought it only made sense for me to have 9.
What a madness. No.
Never know.
Times have changed, babes. But yeah, so I was just like, ugh, oh gosh. So I really wanted my mindset to change before we got married, because I was very honest. One thing, I was very honest with Marcel, that he knew where my mind was at with kids. So, but he still married me. Because even when we got married, my mindset had changed. I'd accepted the idea of potentially having children, but there was still that fear there. So I accepted it, but still in fear that, what's the point in accepting it if it's going to take so long to happen, kind of thing. But like, what was it like for you getting married when I had this whole I don't want children mentality?
Yeah, I think for me, I didn't internalize it. Like I didn't take it personally. I think sometimes couples and partners can get offended if and when the other partner doesn't agree with certain things or thinks very differently about major life choices like having children.
Yeah.
And I think for me, one thing God taught me was to not complain. Sometimes we think we're praying to God, but we're complaining actually.
Yeah.
God is not in the business of making it easier for you by allowing your partner to become what you want them to be. Does that make sense? Or make it easier on you by making your partner believe the same thing, or that's not the right thing, or to be on the same level on absolutely everything. That's not the case. And when it came to this, when it came to Cindy not really wanting children and stuff, I just thought, okay, it's fine. I know it's going to change, because when I would pray to God, I know that God uses family to bring about change. Like, God used the family at the beginning. God created family, and it's his purpose for the earth. It's his purpose to bring about his purpose through families. And so I was never worried. I knew I was gonna have children.
And you knew,
and I knew that,
yeah,
I knew where she was coming from. And so, like, because you still could have got pregnant, but still could have had that mindset, which could have caused more fear.
Yeah.
But I knew God was going to deal with her. And so my prayer was, Father, thank you that you know who Cindy is, you know who you created her to be, you know that she's going to be a fantastic mother. So you pray, not complain and say, God, why is she thinking like that? Please change her mind. Actually, you thank God that it's already done. And that's where I was at.
It's like being at the end, because God knows
exactly
our whole journey. Sometimes we're stuck in the present, in now, like how difficult it is now or where your mind is now.
Yeah.
But you have to remember that God is already at the end. So
That's right.
if you're praying from His will already, if you're praying from the end, it's so much easier.
It's a different perspective.
It's a different perspective. I remember like throughout the years and stuff, I'd been speaking over myself a lot, because words are very powerful.
Yes.
So that's why you have to be careful what you speak over yourself and others, because they stick, and they it's like seeds. It's like you're throwing seeds on ground. So if you keep feeding these seeds and keep watering them, they will eventually grow.
Yeah.
So I kept these seeds that I was putting over on myself and that I was watering with my words again, were growing, and these were damaging me. These were damaging my womb. These were damaging my mind. It was just damaging me. I would just keep saying that I can't have kids. I don't want kids. I'm never gonna have children. I don't like kids. So all these things I was speaking over myself had caused some damage to me. That I wasn't even aware of until God actually showed me a picture of myself and showed me the state of my womb spiritually, and I was like, whoa, okay, that's just a mess. That's really bad. And to expand on that, when the miracle of miracles happened,
yes,
we were at a summit called Holy Nation Summit, hosted by a church called Kadosh Kingdom Movement. Shout out to them.
Yes. I love you guys.
They host the summit every year, and we went to one. Was it 2018?
Yeah, 2018.
It was the theme was sent. I was praying. I think you were praying for someone, or you were just praying in your corner anyway. I was praying, just worshiping God, and I remember there was this. I had this vision, and it basically, God just came to me in that moment and was speaking to me about different things. This is when He showed me a picture of myself, and He showed me my womb and what I was carrying, or what I wasn't carrying. He showed me the state of my womb, and the thing is, it was very dark. It looked rotten and kind of like abandoned and decaying. It was not a nice sight to see, and I was like, is that my womb? And the thing is, I had been feeling as though I was not doing the things that God desires for me to do. Like with the gifts that He's given me, I felt like I was not using them. So I felt like He was probably showing me spiritually, like, what are you doing with what I've given you? The things that I've given you to carry, where are they? And look at the state of your womb spiritually. So I was just repenting, like, Lord, please forgive me. I know I've asked for forgiveness for this numerous amount of times, but let this time be different. Give me the grace to do the things that you've asked me to do in this life. And then He said, I want you to know that this is not only a spiritual thing, this is also physical. This is a physical state of your womb. And I said, where? And it was weird, because sometimes when we have these visions and stuff, it's like, it's quick to see the spiritual side of it. But God was intentional in letting me know that this is a physical thing. This is the physical state of your womb. And I said, I don't understand. What do you mean? And He was like, these are the words that you have spoken over yourself, and this is what it has done. And I said, oh, wow, okay. So the fact that I kept saying, I don't want kids, I'm not going to have kids, different things, and I've been speaking over myself like this for years, and that had become my reality, and it had manifested in my womb. So my womb was just basically finished, complete, just done. Finished, full stop, done. It was done. It was absolutely done. It was done.
Jesus.
So, so my fear became reality, and something that my mum always tells me is you attract what you fear, and I've held on to this for years, because it's true. You attract what you fear, and that was a fear of mine, and because I was so fearful of it, I attracted it, and it became my reality. It was real. My womb was finished. It was tarnished. It was done, and God has shown me that. So, because over the years I'd been to the hospital different times because of like different pains, different things, and they'd noticed different things, and I didn't operate this, and I was just like, Nah, CBA, all this, yeah, it was just a mess. But then, in that time, when God showed me that, I was weeping because I couldn't believe what I had done to myself. I couldn't believe what my words and what fear had done. It literally crippled me to the point where I gave away my birthright. I gave away what God had given me for free. And God he's just so fantastic. He's just so fantastic. He said to me, I'm giving you a new womb. When I heard new womb, I was finished. But again, I went to linking it to he's giving me another opportunity, 100th opportunity to do what what he wants me to do with my gifts, or you know, my calling and everything like that. But he said, no, Cindy, I'm giving you a physical womb, a new, brand new, spanking, brand new, hot off the press, brand new womb,
fresh.
And guys, I kid you not,
Jesus,
wow. I felt a burning, like fire. There was a burning within me, like it felt like physical, like not just fire. There's fire, Holy Ghost fire. No, like my belly was on fire. It was burning, and that was a moment where there was a shift. There was exchange for a rotten, decayed womb for a brand new womb full of light, functioning. Wow. It was just like, it felt like someone had literally done this, grabbed, taken it out, and plugged in a new one. Physically, it felt
this is real,
like
guys.
I was on an operating table.
This is real.
I was finished. Then I went to find Marcel. I found Marcel. We were on the floor, and I told him, but I could barely speak. I was like, God's giving me a new womb. Bearing in mind, we're in different places, we're praying about different things. But because he knew, obviously, the journey that we were on, everything, he was just gassed. We were both just like, the spirit just came, and we were just finished. We were just both on the floor, just thanking God because we believed it, we felt it. It was like oh my life, like, should we go home and make a baby now? but oh God, it was such a beautiful experience. Yeah. And this was April. It's April 2018.
Yeah. The 28th of April.
Yeah, 28th of April 2018. And then so then we went back to the hotel. And so we still were like, yeah, God's giving us a room, but we ain't trying to have kids right now though, are we? Because we still wanted that 2-year gap kind of thing. Yeah. But we were just like over the moon that God has given us a new room, like
flabbergasted.
Well, what does that even mean? But it's possible because he's done it before. And
that's one thing to note as well, that sometimes Christianity can become quite superficial, quite like
definitely
like God can do this in theory, but actually the reality of it, the reality of God's power and his healing hand is that he can do anything. He can heal anyone. And I'm telling you, if what, I know Cindy will do this anyway, but if what Cindy has had and gone through, if you're going through a similar thing, like, there is nothing God cannot do. He can heal you. He can he can literally give you a brand new womb, or brand new heart, or brand new whatever it is, because he is God. That's what he does. When this happened, I was taken straight to Hannah. Like, Hannah was barren. Like, she couldn't give birth, like, she couldn't conceive
at all.
And her husband had another wife who was popping up babies by the day. And she was crying for one. She was crying out to God for one. And the Bible says that God heard Hannah's prayer. And she conceived and brought forth Samuel, one of the greatest prophets to ever live. And so, do not be mistaken. God hears and he will answer.
God's grace, we conceived like 3 months after that. And it was, guys, I kid you not, it was not even like we tried. We were definitely not trying because we wanted that 2-year gap. We were not trying, but God said, listen, let's make this womb work now. Come on, let's test it out.
That's right.
Let's test it out.
That's so
and that's
key.
The thing. I think he needed to do that at that right time.
That's right.
Because fear could have kicked right back in again. Because, not gonna lie, there was a part of me that was kind of like, okay, I know he's healed me, he's given me a new womb, but maybe there'll still be a bit of a difficulty kind of thing. But I refused to accept it kind of thing. I refused to accept it. And I was just like, okay, no, I'm just going to stay on the fact that he's giving me a new womb. He's giving me a new womb.
That's right.
But then we conceived, and I was just like, even when we found out, I was still like in shock, like, Like, oh my gosh, I can conceive.
It was a hard
Like-
Jelana. This month last year?
Oh yeah.
This month last year.
It was, yeah. It was a madness. It was a madness.
And one thing to note as well, because you see, God will bear witness to whatever is done. Like,
Yeah.
you will see fruit from it.
Definitely. And the beautiful thing is, God gave me a new womb in April 2018, and our son was born April 2019.
1 year.
Tell me God isn't good.
Listen,
Tell me God is not good. We'll wait.
no, don't worry, we got our day.
We'll see. We'll wait.
Listen, God, yeah, and we're not saying we're not boasting in anything.
I boast in the
boasting
Lord.
God.
I boast in the Lord.
We boast in God. We're not anyone special where God's like, I'm gonna do it for those guys, but I won't do it for them. No, God will do it for you. Just have faith and believe. And the thing is, not only was he born in April, literally a year after God gave Cindy a new womb, but he was born on April 19th, Good Friday. Everything about it was strategic and specific.
Yes.
He was also the 12th grandchild to my parents.
Come
The
on.
12th, come on, 12, the number of government. Listen, we're not.
Listen,
There's so
we're not
many.
playing here, you know. We're not playing.
God has
This is real.
brought him
Very real.
forth for a purpose and a reason, and we're just thankful that God chose us to bring use our vessels to bring forth
Such a blessing. and
such
he
a
really
blessing, and he is.
Oh gosh, he really
Oh.
is. He really is. Like, if he wasn't my child, I'd want him to be my child.
The love, man.
He is absolutely like. Anyway,
Yes.
let me
That's
just.
for next video, innit?
That's next video.
That's
But
actually-
But yeah, so yeah, God did that. When God does something, yeah,
listen,
the enemy is still trying to like
listen.
put his nose in, you know, to try and see what he can do to destroy
Yeah.
what God has given
Or to
you,
dismantle.
or dismantle, or to even make you
Or distract you.
yeah, or to distract you, yeah, correct. And there were 2 times where we had a few complications, and we had to go into the hospital. First time, doctors thought that he was gonna come quite early because he would have been premature.
Was that 26 weeks?
Yeah, so it would have been premature. It's because they said my body is actually ready to go into labour. It's releasing some chemicals that's basically showing that my body's getting ready to labour. So when we went to the hospital, I was just having these pains and they just weren't going. So it felt like contractions, which it was contractions. But when we got there, they were like, there weren't any beds like in the hospital because he would need a bed for him.
Yeah.
For him. So they were like, we're gonna have to transfer you. They're gonna take us quicker to Manchester, or because you have to go wherever is available. I said, hello, ain't nobody got time for that. 'Cause
Manchester,
we packed no bags. I was like, no.
We're ready.
We're
26
ready.
weeks.
I went there in my PJs
Yeah.
and a coat. We were not going there to give birth to any baby.
No.
So then, but luckily they sent us closely to City Wolverhampton. I was there for a few days, and the medical team, they were really good. They had to give me a few things just in case he came, just so that he would be able to, you know, his lungs would be able to hack it. But by the grace of God, he didn't come. God said it's not his time. We knew it wasn't going to be his time anyway. We knew he wasn't coming.
Yeah.
We were just there just so that they could monitor him and make sure that he was okay. He was fantastic. He was absolutely. It was funny because though it's weird because though I was contracting and I was having discomfort and my body was saying this, my body was acting like it was in labour. He was not distressed at all.
Yeah,
every time they would monitor him, he's fine.
He was chilling.
He's fine.
He was
but it's like though
chilling.
my body was saying one thing, but he was saying, nah, G, I'm ready. I'm not ready. I'm fine. I'm very comfortable. Though my body was saying, no, he's coming. So God was just like, no, not time yet. He's not ready. And then the second time I went in, like, I was just coughing up loads of blood, cough, and then it was just I was throwing up blood as well. It was a very hard time, but
that was a bit scary.
I was just like, God, what's going on? But again, God was just like, no, he's cool, he's fine.
And the baby was fine.
He was like, for every time that there was an issue, the monitor him, he is fine, like he was chilling, relaxed, not affected. He's like,
Good boy.
listen, nothing to do with me. He's like, nothing to do with me, homie. I'm good. And then he came at the right.
No, listen. We have to tell you how obedient our son is and how strategic God is. So literally,
he was due on Monday.
He was due on the Monday, the 15th of April. I was doing a show called the Birmingham Passion Play. If anyone got to see it or saw it online or whatever, and I was playing Jesus. Incredible experience. But the show was the 16th, 17th, and 18th of April. So it's due to Monday, you know. So the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm performing.
Obviously, we know that they don't. It's not by force that they come on the due date.
Yeah.
So they come before or after.
But there's no understudy, you know.
Yeah.
I could have been hanging on the cross. I'm like, "You baby's coming." We were talking to him and saying, "Son, listen,
better come on Friday.
come after. Yeah, once that either come before or come after. Once that is finished."
I didn't want him to come before because if he came before, that would have been too early. Then you'd have to go.
Yeah, it's
and do
true.
the show. So I said, "Nah,
Yeah.
come afterwards."
Come
I
after.
was saying come on Friday because that would be perfect. Because I was saying you can come Thursday evening because technically he'll be done by then, but then he'll be tired and I need him to have energy. So come Friday, and he came on Friday.
And literally the morning on the Friday, before because I had a rehearsal for something else, so I said, "Son, today would be perfect." And I left, and literally by the time I got to the rehearsal, Cindy called me like, "I'm in labour, or I'm having contractions."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?" And literally by 9:45 that night, PM,
Boom.
baby boy.
He came into the world.
God is so good. And listen to this, because you see, everything God does is strategic, and it's to bear witness that His hand is on it. So when we went to New Cross that time when we thought Cindy was going to give birth early, 26 weeks, there was a nurse there. She was incredible, wasn't she, babe?
Midwife,
The midwife. She looked after. She was just
fantastic.
incredible. Like
Fantastic.
we got to know each other. Like
She was
just
a
awesome.
blessing.
I can't
She was a
explain.
blessing.
She was a real blessing.
Yeah.
There was a training nurse, a training midwife. What do you call them? Like a student nurse.
Yeah, student nurse.
Yeah, a student nurse, a student midwife. That
Gave birth to her son.
Yeah, no, she didn't give birth to her son.
I mean, sorry. Delivered. No wait.
Delivered. Yeah. How? Basically, she was the person leading it. Basically, she was the one leading the delivery.
It's not prayer session. I said leading. She led prayer. She led worship.
Basically, she was conducting.
Conducting.
What do you say now?
You're so churched. The man said conducting.
Basically, she was the one. Yeah, no delivering. She was the one delivering the baby. Basically.
Lord have mercy. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
no, that's correct.
correct.
So she was a student that's delivering the baby. So we were talking after and stuff. We found out that she is the blood niece, the niece to that woman back at New Cross. So the woman that started it,
Yeah.
her niece finished it.
And on top of that, when we went for one of our scans, the midwife scanning person noticed that I had some fibroids, and she was like, you know, one of them was a bit bigger than the other one of them was smaller, but they just have to monitor them throughout the pregnancy because they can have an effect on the pregnancy. Yeah. So then when we obviously we knew that it was there, we were just praying that God, you know, by the time that we have the next scan, we hope that it doesn't grow and it doesn't affect the pregnancy, which it didn't, thank God. But anyway, the woman found the fibroids, and she was like, you know what, you people are really lucky. And we were like, why? She said, because when people find it really hard to conceive when they have fibroids, and you know, you conceive. I said, wow. My son was like, it's God.
Yeah,
it's
I
God.
had to tell her.
He was like, it's God, man. Jesus is good.
And I was like, it was
and she was
Jesus.
just like, yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, just to be clear.
You have to let them know it's not lucky,
Jesus.
it's not the stars, it's Jesus, it's God. God has allowed this to happen. God has
so we were
caused
just
it
like,
to be
God,
pregnant.
you're amazing. You are absolutely fantastic, and we are grateful. So God, like, if this doesn't do anything for you, then why? I mean, I don't know, you know. I don't know, but listen, God is able.
Yeah.
He has already done it. Remember, He's at the end. He's at the end, and He knows the end of the story. So just trust in Him that He has your best interests at heart, that His plans for you are good because they are.
Yeah,
and
they are.
He loves you. I'm just so grateful that God has turned our story around, has turned our life around. I really pray that for you as well, if you're watching and you know someone who is struggling with fertility. There's nothing that God cannot do. There's nothing that is impossible for Him or is too hard for Him. I know and I completely believe that God is going to do it for you as well. If you desire for children and it's been difficult, listen, God is able to do it. So yeah, we'll see you guys in our next video.
Yes.
Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, all that YouTubey stuff. And then we'll see you in our next video, if He's going to be here.
Hopefully. Oh, no. You need to do some by yourself.
No, yes, He'll be here.
See you later, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.